the president, Prof. Rampol, the board, and members. We're quite excited to have you on board this morning on a very important topic. But before I get to that topic, I just want to give you some insight into the South African Society of Quality. We are a professional body for the practitioners in quality, and we want to ensure we make quality a priority and focus on sustainability and resilience. So we use quality to make the world a better place, and hence today SASQ is hosting the Zoom talk on mental health awareness. Before I introduce my next our keynote speaker, the World Health Organization has on the 10th of October declared the a mental health day and awareness around it. It's all about our minds and our rights, and in terms of universal health, a lot of stigma attached to mental health. And an interesting concept about this is that 1 in every 8 of us throughout the globe have some sort of mental illness and the stigma attached to it. So next slide, please. Thanks, Iona. So our keynote speaker today is a very renowned person in the mental health space. It's Mrs Iona Kock, who's currently the Deputy Nursing Manager at PARKMED Neuro Clinic, and she's going to take us through mental health awareness and give us some advice. There will be a poll just now, just before we start. It's just to get a sense of how you're feeling, and please, that poll will start just now in a few minutes. And Iona has been overseeing the mental health unit and has a lots of experience in terms of mental wellness, etc. Things like obsessive compulsive behavior, self-harm, etc. And I think it's important that this mental health awareness has an impact on all of us, our personal lives, our family lives, and the community. So it's important for us to aware of some of the symptoms. So Iona, over to you. We're looking forward to a lot of insight. And before you go, Prof, can you start the poll? There will be a poll starting off, and if you could just answer it. It tells you, ask you how are you doing. Are you and it's just one question. So Iona, over to you.
Good morning, Dina, and thank you so much. Thank you for everybody joining this morning. And let's start. As Dina introduced me, I'm from LENMED PARKMED NEURO CLINIC. It's a psychiatric facility here in the Northwest Province, where we are licensed to serve 44 patients within the mental health capacity. And we are a voluntary facility for admissions. So on mental health awareness, I think I'm speaking to the converted this morning. But as we all know, the day that we are present is the day that counts for us in our world of experience. So here we go. So what is the reality of mental health illness? We're going to look at the latest research and the experience with the inpatient environment. We're also going to look at who is at risk. And then, very importantly, how can I improve my mental health status going forward? So in research, it indicated that 1 in every 3 South Africans will experience mental health problems in their lifetime. And this is from the recent annual Mental State World Report by Sapien Labs that revealed this to us. So my question is to all of us out there, how big is your family? I've got a family of 4 members. My core family is 4 members. So 1 in 3 South Africans will experience problems in their lifetime. The revised white paper on families in South Africa in the SA, from the SA government, revealed that our core family has an average of 3.41 persons within the family. So the people in my family becomes much smaller now. So 1 in 3 South Africans, if we are 4 in my core household, that is a danger sign to me, or a sign to be awake. The extended families within South Africa has an average of 3 to 4 generations within that family. So that gives me a little bit of leverage. Wider group, so maybe I'm not the target here. In my experience in the mental health facility here in Klerksdorp, we have seen numerous families that were admitted. So a parent is admitted, and soon after that, they will be followed by either adolescents or their children. At times, we had grandparents admitted to be followed by grandkids. This is the reality within the mental health situation in our land, in our country. We need to be mindful about our mental health. So, who is at risk? Who is this target person that we are looking at? It's you. It's me. It's the colleague at work. It's the manager that walks along every morning to make sure that everything is in place. It's the cleaner that so diligently comes to our offices and ensure that our environment is clean. It's that lawyer that we tap into when things get tough for us. It's the nurse that stands next to your bed, ensuring good and proper care. And what about the security guard that's out there that we rely on access control to our facilities? We rely on him to alert us if there's any problems. So any of these of us are a target. So it's important for us to be aware of the symptoms of mental health or mental illness. And then what happens when I'm aware of it? Then I need to act in ensuring support and treatment as soon as possible. The first sign in the changes are the changes in our behavior. Now, we all know that we have our own core values, and our values drives our behavior. The values drives us to action. So what in our values or in our behavior would be the things that brings to mind that there is an alert, that there is a symptom that we need to look at? Our eating and sleeping patterns will change. Suddenly, or in an onset of time, you will experience this change. Definitely mood swings. From where I was the happy, chappy lady, now I'm a bit more irritable. I'm a bit more insensitive. Or I'm loud, where I was the introvert. I'm becoming more loud, trying to present myself in another way that people don't see what I'm really masking. Social withdrawal is something that we notice quite often as one of the signs that brings people to us for help. My child has been ongoing, was a happy, sportive, active child, but all of a sudden my child is withdrawn. When we speak to her, there's nothing wrong. So these type of signs in our behavior is what brings us to the forefront of something is wrong. So how can I improve my mental health status? Now, this is very important for all of us to note that there are many ways that we can say, how do I improve my mental health status? Today, I'm just going to bring you 4 points in how we can improve our mental health status. So first of all, it is to connect. And who do I connect to? To have a positive relationship is to connect to someone. Remember that group that I spoke about, the colleagues, those that are close and dear to us? We need to connect to them. Then we need to contribute to our community. Now, my first community is my family at home. Those are the people I need to connect to first before I go further than that. That will also then give us a sense of belonging when we are connected. And when we say empathize with others, sure, it's been well said. Everybody has known it for so long that we must be the empathized person. But that means I need to step into your boots, your high heels, stilettos, or your slippers. I need to be there with you to connect. I need to be able to cope if I need to improve my mental status. So easily said than done. How do I cope? We call it by name. We deal with the stresses. We try to adopt to the change that is happening with us. Stand back and reevaluate what is really happening. What is causing this change in my behavior? Then we need to make complex decisions. We need to make choices that will alter the way that we think and also alter the way that we behave. One very important thing is for us to realize that we need emotional intelligence to master and to improve our mental health status, to understand and to manage our emotions. Remember, people see and they hear and they perceive us in that way. So how we show up is what is important for us when we show that we cope. Then we need to be able to function. So to function, we need to think, to apply our cognitive skills. We need to be able to think. Then we say that we need to gain an education. Sure. In this year, I'm busy with a Henley study, and that is getting and gaining new education. But for some of us who has reached that, the extent of what we have learned or how we can get an education, it is important for us to tap into other people's areas of education to understand why they show up in what they do, why they behave in the way that they do. Then we need to earn a living. Now, in our current economic status, that is something that sometimes are difficult for people out there. But can I earn an emotional living as well? Can I be content at the place where I am and see how I can manage from here onwards? To be functional within my community, who is my family at first, is to have a role to play, to be present with them where I am. And then we need to learn new skills. If something from COVID, the COVID pandemic stayed with me, is that we all tried to do something different. We all tried to manage our way around the isolation that kicked off. So we learned new skills. Unfortunately, for some of us, COVID passed in the sense that we are not trading that new skill that we started off when it was COVID time, when we were locked up and we could not do anything. We started with a new skill. Pick up from there, do that skill, become more functional. And then we need to thrive. Realize our own abilities. If I know my abilities, I will be able to communicate my strengths and my weaknesses to those that's near to me, to my colleagues at workplace, not to create unrealistic expectations. I need to feel good. I need to choose to feel good. I'm an absolute optimist, but I know life kicks me hard at times. But I need to look at the silver lining behind all of this. Then we need to find our purpose. And to find your purpose can have a greater meaning within you and in your workplace, but also just to step back and to say, for today, what is my purpose? What can I mean for someone? How meaningful can my actions and my behavior be to get into the other person's space, to make that better for them? And think about your wellness first, and then the wellness of others. And again, I bring it back, family first. So what? How can I manage that for myself? It's a mouthful. So how do we do it? So we go on and we say we meditate. Each of us has a me time. We need to take deliberate time out sessions to get in touch with ourselves, to find that inner meaning and the person that lies beyond what the people see. We need to be mindful. And if you go on the websites, there are numerous mindfulness exercises that you can investigate, that you can just check in with a family, and that will make you understand the meditation part of it. We need to take a break. Now, we all know Kit Kat. The slogan of Kit Kat is, take a break, take a Kit Kat. Use the 4-finger one so that you can share with others while you're taking this break. So in the workplace and for us as employees, and it is very difficult to take a break. In my space of work, I am always so busy that a quick lunch, work lunch we call it, is what we do. That's not the healthy part of it. We need to take a break from the office. We need to walk out of that door and start something new, start a new conversation, bring ourselves into contact with people that refreshes us before we think we can continue. How many of us take leave, but we don't do a holiday when we take leave? And when I speak about taking leave, I would like to remind us as employees of the work field, and maybe there is some of us that's not in the work field anymore, that every day is a day of leisure, but we need to take leave from our work. We need to take leave from our cell phones. That time of meditation, cell phones. We need to take leave from that laptop that keeps us so busy and so connected to everybody around us. We need to take leave in doing something for others and start doing something for ourselves. I am one person in my typology that would go out there and care for others. I'm in sensing, and I want to know, how do you feel? How can I make you feel better? But sometimes I need to step back and come back to me and take a break from that. We need to stay active. Now, this is the difficult part. Does staying active mean I need to go to a gym? Remember, the financials are a bit tight at times, or I really don't have time. So when I say we need to stay active, we need to find some time just to relax, some time just to take a stroll, walk down the road and experience. Maybe there's new neighbors around you, with all the trees that are blossoming now, with our new season that's within us. Did you see the flowers down the street? Did you notice any of that? So when we say you need to stay active, we mean that you do something for yourself, but with others. Parkrun is nationally in our country available, and it's free of charge. So go out on a park run on a Saturday morning. Join the kids in their activities. How important it is for our children to know that mom and dad is still out there. Granny and granddad is still out there, and they can do something with us. So for me, it's at this stage with my 2 kids at the university, when they come home, we make time to spend time with each other and to tap in to what is their needs and my own needs. I need to clarify my expectations for them. But staying active means start something new, dancing, cycling, or maybe roller skating with your kids. That can be fun. That way we stay active. We need to have the courage to live. Life is what we have, but we need to put on that brave shoes and have the courage to live. We need to have the courage to say no. Remember that I spoke about that we are so often available for everyone else. We are so often just there that people can call on us and tap into our energy. They withdraw from us, but sometimes they do not deposit new energy to us. So we need to have the courage to say no in a sensitive way. We can say no. We need to take care of our bodies. That's by healthy sleeping patterns. That's by a healthy diet. And good sleep will promote good energy. good energy will promote, again, good performance at home and at work. And sometimes we forget that we need to be performing at home as well, not just at work. Yes, at work, they measure you on a certain tool for your performance. But how do we allow our family to measure us at home? How do I show up at home in my energy levels? At a certain stage, when we all experience so much pressure, we come home and we need to ask, what do you need me to do? And then we need to ask, what do I need to do? How do I take care of myself? We try to get a good 6 or 8 hours sleep if we are really lucky. But then we need to know that a healthy diet will also help our way along. Very important for us is to seek help. It's not a weakness to ask for help. It's actually a strength. Strength that you know that you need, and you ask those that can support you in the way forward. So when we say that we should seek help, we want to prevent a crisis instead of going through the crisis and then to look at it back in experience. So please seek help when there is something on the margin, on the horizon. Seek help. Now, in our workplace, for me, it's very important to ask, how do we check in with our employees? Who's the first employee? I am. Ask myself the question every morning when I get into my office. I've got a routine that I fetch the key to open the admission department, the reception area where my office is situated. I go to my office, I close the door behind me, and then I check in with myself. How am I feeling today? Was there somebody that upset me on my way to work? Taxi that drove right in front of me, and a driver that was not so considerate to me on the way, or a pedestrian that caught my eye that is in struggle. How did that make me feel? Because these feelings, which is in touch with my core values, will drive me to my behavior after this. Then I need to know the value of investing in employee health and well-being. A great shout out to the LENMED group that did the Wellness Day quite recently with us. This has brought along so many of us to sit down and to rethink on which way we are. I need to share with you a very good story from ParkMed Neuro Clinic, where one of my employees would normally walk quite a distance to the taxi and then she would commute to work. But still, they said in the wellness evaluation that she had that she was unfit. And then she realized that at ParkMed, there are gym equipment available for the patients, and I have invited them numerous times to use it themselves during lunch breaks. So she is presently coming on duty half an hour earlier just to go onto that bike, just to tread a little bit, to sweat a little bit, change into other clothes, and then she continues with the day. Well done to my employee, my colleague that realizes that although I don't have this equipment at home, I can utilize it somewhere else. For us at home, I know there's stairs somewhere. 1, 2, what about a physical workout where we are at home? When we walk out to call someone at work, do we measure our steps? Do we get in touch with what we are actually doing? So well done to the LENMED group for checking in on our employee health and well-being. Important for employees is that we understand that psychological contract that we need to have with them. It is so difficult for us to look beyond, at times, the formal contract that it says. For each of us that has been appointed in the workplace, we have been appointed for a very good reason, for a very good value that we can add to the organization. So we need to know what do we expect from them and how do they come about in working. So in our psychological contract, we will measure the belonging. How does this person belong with us in this? Remember, we spoke about being connected. We need to show acceptance. I accept you for the person you are, and this is how I will mold and I will build on you for the way forward. We need to give people ownership. We need to give them a voice so that they can be heard. Although I may have the experience as a leader, I can also sit back and listen to what they have. We need to be there in loyalty to them, to understand where they come from before we place where we are in this world. So in the psychological contract, we also would like the employer and for us as managers, for me as a manager in person, to look at transformational leadership and how can transformational leadership bring us to the fore what my person in front of me, who she or he really is, and invest in that shared value approach. What do you expect? What do I expect? And how do we meet each other halfway? So where can I go to find help? We have spoken a lot about how we need to do this, but it's important for me also to share this morning on where to go to find help. We know that we have our GPs available, our general practitioners, there's psychologists, psychiatrists, but sometimes, as in my line of work, those are my colleagues. So yes, I know they would help me, but I also need to find my own resources in how and where I can find help. Now, SASQ, the South African Depression and Anxiety Group, has more than 160 support groups that we can tap into. And it is free online counselors, objective people. They don't know me, but they will listen to me at another level, on another level. They will be there for me because I need them. And then they are there for all. For the adolescent, that's really going through a lot nowadays. For our students at university, you must just get through it. You must just push and you must do it. For adults, I don't know how to manage certain situations with my children because I've never been there. And earlier on in my life, I was so easy to give advice without experience. That's more hurtful than anything else. We do more harm through that. And then parents and siblings. Parents need to understand how my children act, how they manage through their daily life and their struggles. Siblings, we cannot choose, we can't choose them. We are part of them. We are part of that core family where we come from. So we need to sit down with them and to understand them in the way that their lives has changed with the roles that they have adapted throughout. So SASQ really offers us a great deal of support. So we need to know what can you do to make you happy? What can I do to make you happy? Learn the secret to find the happiness within you. So there I have some helplines or some contact detail from SASQ. It's online, it's available. You can join one of these and these will give you such valuable information, such good time to just check into yourself. So we need to take care. You are worth living. Thank you. I appreciate your time this morning. And now I'm open to questions. Thank you so much, Tina.
Thanks, Iona, for that insightful topic. And I think for some of our diehard Springbok fans, we probably need some of this. We may need to take a break. We may need to stay alive. But yeah, we have to. Imagine the sort of mental strain on all the Springbok supporters. The fate of 62 million people. But I'm sure the boys are going to actually go through to the semi-finals. But yeah, thanks for giving us some insight, I think, into the research, some insight into, who is at risk. We're all at risk. As I mentioned earlier, there's 1 in 8 of us throughout the globe at some stage have some sort of, and there's stigma attached to it, I think, if you look at, you have diabetes, hypertension, etc., but mental health is out there and it affects all of us. Like the topic on the behavioral changes and what to look for, how do we improve our mental status in terms of that? How do we sort of connect and cope and function in this whole process, and the stuff that we have to do, because I think sometimes a lot of things around mental health and mental awareness, I mean, all of us, I think, that's joined in this morning at some stage, whether it's our own personal experience with mental health, had a family or a friend or a member, etc., etc. And I noticed there's a lot of stigma attached to these kind of things. And you've brought out a lot of you brought out a lot of key messages, because the World Health Organization is had a special day on the 10th of October in terms of universal. It's a human right, and the quality of mental health and the processes into part of us. But mental health is so important, in terms of balance, and the other factors that you brought in, like eating well, resting, taking a break, etc., etc., etc. I don't know what my stress levels are going to be from 9 o'clock tomorrow evening, but let's see. I hope to connect and cope and function on Monday either way. So yeah, thanks for that insight. It's such a controversial topic, and the more we go out there and speak about it, the less we stigmatize this whole process. And I think we also have a responsibility. We also make some statements which is not fair enough. We never know when it's going to actually hit us, and we have mental issues and stuff like that. So good.
We need to be mindful about that.
Absolutely, absolutely. Great insight. I've learned a lot this morning, and the South African Society of Quality is all about not only quality of the product and the service we deliver, but I think mental health is key to us at the South African Society of Quality. So really, really insightful information to take home today. And I think we're going to run a poll now, Prof. And
let's take a few hands and a few comments.
Sure.
Gina.
Sure. Let's take, if you could raise your hand, any comments, any additions, any questions?
I see Charlene has put a hand up there.
Okay, Charlene, over to you. Welcome, Charlene.
Good morning. Good morning, Prof. Good morning, all the colleagues and all the doctors in the house. I see there's quite a few. Thank you very much, Iona. I really appreciate the topic. I think one of the things maybe in mental health that is very complex is the broadness of mental health. So if you consider, for example, dementia, where no amount of taking a break is going to do anything, or routine. So there's the dementia component on one spectrum. There's brain damage, which is a physical component on the other side. And then there's birth defects, which is an additional, and the genetic defects. I think mental health, the complexity of mental health is associated with the broadness of mental health. And oftentimes we want to squeeze it into the same little box because we don't understand it. We want to deal with it in a narrow space, so that we don't have to deal with it, kind of thing. I think, I don't know. It's my reading of society, and it might be very wrong, but in dealing with, you mentioned that you a voluntary institution in Klerksdorp, if I heard correctly. Can
That's
you
correct.
explain what type of mental health or mental conditions or mental, because it's so broad, I actually don't know who you service, and a little bit about how we better deal with the different categories of mental health.
Thank you so much, Charlene. And that's a broad question. The answer will be quite broad in that too. But I will try to answer your question in the following. At ParkMed Neuro Clinic, we service patients with depression, anxiety disorders, bipolar mood disorders, patients also come to us with suicidal ideation or post-suicide attempts. Self-harm is very prevalent within our area. And then substance abuse patients are also admitted with us. So when you look at the how do we support, how do we service, you spoke about dementia, which is very close at home because I've got a mother that is dementia, the Alzheimer's type. And we also service those type of patients at our hospital. So when looking at mental health, we look at the person going through that's affected, but also the family that we need to support in that way. So yes, for the Alzheimer's patient or for the dementic patient, we cannot offer them the same standards of support that we would offer to the family, because each are going through a very different and unique lane of their treatment. But what we try to do at ParkMed Neuro Clinic is when we have the patient in the evaluation of the patient's condition, we would then see how to support the patient and the family. Our treatment has various legs that it stands on, and one of it is the medication side of it, that our psychiatrist would prescribe some medication to have this person to cope better. And this can be short-term or in a long-term on a chronic basis that the patient needs to take medication. But also we offer the services of group sessions where they get taught new life skills, new coping skills on how to take this way forward. And that I find is quite insightful for the patients. So that is what we offer at ParkMed Neuro Clinic. I hope I answered your question well.
Brilliant. Thank you so much. And I think you're doing great work. Thank you.
Thanks, Charlene.
Thanks, Charlene. Any more questions or comments?
Dina, there's another question on the chat.
Yes.
Is about can you please elaborate on the issue of diet as both a symptom of mental health and diet as a contributor to restoring mental health? Got it, Dina?
So when we look, thank you so much for that, Prof. When we look at our diet, Dina mentioned earlier on that our diabetic patient would be there and we are diagnosed with diabetes. So within the context of diabetes, I have a specific diet to follow. But when I am depressed, I don't have the energy to continue with this diet. Already there's a stigma to the diet, to my diagnosis in that. And now I become more stressed about what I need to do. So when I speak to the patients and to those around me about the healthy way in diet, how can a diet improve our mental health status, is to be mindful about what we eat. The Zenzile Life Group is a support group also available on social media that brought in the type of foods that you need to energize your brain. Raisins, dark chocolates, a very good coffee instead of just drinking coffee. We all know that water is good for all of us, but how often do we make it a point? How often are we mindful about the intake of water? For students, when we look at their mental health and how they become connected or disconnected to diet, is what is available. Is my fast food available on hand? Or do I need to put in effort to make a healthier diet? So for me, diet in the diagnosis and my behavior is where I know that I am not eating properly. I don't have energy, so I snack rather than to have a proper meal. I was taught as a child to sit down when I have a meal. As I became older, it became a meal on the run. That's not good for my mental health. I am not being mindful at the time that I'm having my meal. So then we see very often our patients come in with complaints of constipation, nausea, discomfort. All of those can be linked back to our mental health condition. As soon as that is better, and we get in our regular meals, good meals for that, As South Africans, we tend to live on the fast food lane, but when we tend to look consciously at our diet, that will improve your mental health way forward. Thank you.
Thanks, Iona. Prof, any more questions on the chat? I don't think so.
Any more hands up there, please?
I think there's I think there's another comment. People are privately trying to know the level of the mental health so they can quietly do an online test or assessment. Are these virtual tests reliable, or is it better to do face-to-face assessments?
Dina, I think that is something that one will need to discover as you are doing that test. I have seen through SASQ, there is tests. There's quite a few tests that are very reliable that we have found within our group sessions. So I think for me to start off with a self-help test is just to understand where I am at this point in time, and then to move on to my general practitioner, and then to take care of myself to move forward to a psychologist, psychiatrist, or a counselor. So checking in with ourselves is what is important. That is, there's an event that happens in our lives. Everybody noticed the difference in behavior, but no one wants to talk about it because what if? What if? And we need to challenge ourselves, check in. There are really good platforms for self-evaluation. So I would advise that do the self-evaluation. And if you're not sure where this is heading, go sit down. There's nothing as good as to have a heart-to-heart talk with somebody face-to-face, because sometimes in talking about it, we hear our own answers. Thank you.
Thank you, Iona. There's another question with regard to, could you elaborate on some of the causes of mental health?
Again, a very broad answer. Thank you for that question, Dina. So, like I just now said, there's an event that happened within our life. It's trauma. It's a complicated grief situation that we're going through, loss that we experience, that we did not deal about it, burnout within the workplace, that we so often from the previous archetypes that we have, we don't complain when we have too much work because that will show that we are weak. But if I don't complain and I do fall into the category of burnout, I won't be as effective or sufficient as I need to be. So for mental health issues, for the diagnosis is when it affects your work life and your home life experiences. When there is suicidal thoughts of self-worth that is no more there. I doubt about what I mean to others. Am I really in touch with them? Do I mean something for them? Many a times people will walk in and say, there's no meaning in life. No one values me. I am the cause of trouble. So it's better if I take myself out of the equation, then people will live happier. Those kind of words that we utter or behavior that we show indicates to us that we are not on a mental scale, we are not balanced. Because we should not think about removing ourselves from the equation if there's a problem on the table. Rather address the white elephant in the room than to walk about it. And then it causes us to decay or to deteriorate as we go along. So I would say that when our behavior change and people notice that change in our behavior, then it is time to check in with our mental health, with our mental illness.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Can I pose a question?
Absolutely. Go for
yes,
it, Prof.
One of those things is that in the workplace situation, there's two issues, the post-COVID situation, is that people have been working long hours and been, developed some mental health conditions during that time. There's one thing. The other thing is the power of saying no. Is there any advice for the COVID period on how to readjust to the workplace?
Prof, that is Thank you so much for that question, Prof. And that is a difficult one, because that one takes me back into the organization itself. So advice would be for people to come forward in that shared valued approach, the psychological contract that we have between the employer and the employee, to check in with our employees. How do they cope within the workplace? COVID has really, really damaged so many of us in different ways that we cannot draw a line and say, this is what happened to you, this is what happened to me, so we must feel the same. So I would advise that the psychological contract that is within the employment needs to be addressed. People need to sit down and listen to what was the experience of the employees there, and then to raise awareness regarding that in the workplace. For each and every one of us, we felt it differently, but we act up maybe similar in behavior, but there's different underlying mental models that will guide us way forward. So I think for employers, it would be good to, like I said, the great thank you to our group that did the wellness, the well-being, employee well-being program, because that will give you an indication of where our staff is currently regarding their mental health. I trust I answered you.
Any follow-up questions, Prof?
Thank you so much. I think, yeah, thanks for that answer.
Thanks.
Pleasure, Prof.
Iona, just a few comments from my side. I think one of the challenges we also face is a significant threat to the well-being of young people. Yeah. Especially globally, it's the trends are showing that depression is emerging as one of the leading illnesses and disability with that during that adolescent phase as well. And I think maybe you should just guide us in the right way, that some of the key issues that the World Health Organization raised with regard to our minds and our eyes around the increase in mental health around adolescents, the stigma attached to discrimination, etc. And I think the other key issues about the recognition as rights as people, in terms of I think if we can take out the stigma to that whole process, it will help, because for those that are on the breakfast session with SASQ this morning, I think it's important that you just have a look at what the World Health Organization, and I think, Prof, we can also publish that on our website, which gives us some insightful information to mental health. Just one question: how do you think we're all going to cope on Monday morning after the rugby?
You need to de-stress if you are too stressful. Then you need to take time out. But Dina, to come back to your question on the adolescent patients or our adolescents at large within our communities, we have seen a very steep increase in our adolescent admissions at ParkMed Neuro Clinic, duly so at the Sunningdale Hospital that is within our group in Clarkston. So the conditions that our adolescent patients are admitted with are depression, family dysfunctional family, conduct disorder, and substance abuse are greatly one of the diagnoses that comes so to the front every time that we admit patients. When we look at how our adolescent patients or the adolescents out there in the world are exposed to social media, how they are less in contact or less connected to the family group. We have become so involved and evolved around what do we find there. A child should have a cell phone at a certain age. If not, there's a stigma around that. Your family is too poor, or this or that. So when we look at the stigmatization around How do they go back to schools after they have been admitted? How does the family accept them with a mental health condition? Because if my child has a mental health mental illness, does it mean it's something that came from home? Is it something part of our genetic pool? It brings parents to a standstill, to a point of where they need to understand what's happening to their child. The events that happens in children's lives, how open are those children to come and share it with the parents so that they can have an early understanding of what the challenges are that they are facing. One of the things that we do within ParkMed Neuro Clinic is to limit the amount of pocket money that children receive while in hospital, because I spent money on others to buy their acceptance, to buy into the group to belong. And for us to have initiatives like this within the schools would be a great way forward. We need to involve children from a young age to know about what is their mental well-being. That I can say no. We teach our children from a very early age. But what if an event happened to me where I had no control over saying no? What do I do then? Can I come back to mommy and daddy and tell them what happened? Will there be the archetypes from the parent side to say that children are not allowed to be heard? They're only allowed to be seen? We've got a very vocal group in our current adolescent phase. They are vocal about how they feel, what they would like to do. And we as parents need to take a step back and listen to our children. Listen to what they say and how they say it, because there's value in it. So to destigmatize it will be to bring back into our educational system mental health. We had numerous platforms within the schools where children can be helped, but they are too scared to talk out. They are too scared to say it out loud, because what will people think of me? So we need to give them that safety within the schools, within the households, and then within the way forward. Hope I answered you.
Thanks, Iona. I was thinking about an interesting thing before I mentioned the next comment from the chat. An interesting concept is that, every person's mind is wonderful, although very complex and very different, but our rights are the same, am I right? When it comes to so I think, the more we go out there, and I think the big issue around this whole thing is the stigmatization around it, and it's sad in a way, because it can happen to any one of us. And as I mentioned earlier before, there is at least at some stage in our life where we were exposed to mental illnesses or a family member. And interesting to say that, although our minds are very wonderful, complex, and different, but with the rights are the same. So I just thought I'll just mention that. And then there was one more comment on the chat before we do a poll. It says, in some cases, are mental health problems self-inflicted through drug abuse or overindulging in medication, food, etc.?
Thanks for that one, Dina. So we have seen very clearly through our admissions and in my experience at ParkMed Neuro Clinic that substance abuse plays a very, very big part in mental illness. People try to cope taking other measures. So substance abuse then comes into the play there. Eating disorders are also part of that. And I have seen more eating disorders with our adolescent groups than I have seen with our adult groups. So yes, it plays a very important role in that, hence the healthy diet option there. So when we say that people try to cope with substances, they need to find a way to mask that I'm coping. So when I'm at work, I show up as the person that can do my work and I can do my best. But when I leave work, where do I go to relax? Where do I go to unwind? Am I mindful about what I do when I'm there? And so substance abuse plays a very big role, and it's linked quite strongly to depression, to family abuse or neglect, and to the self-esteem of the person that's going through that, because that's the only way they think they can cope, is by going the route of substance abuse or overeating, indulging into whatever. We have had some patients that would have a very good scope. There's no substance abuse as such, but should I visit the patient in her room, I would find bags and bags of chocolates underneath the pillows, within the bedding, in everything that they do, even in the toiletry bag to the bathroom, there is a chocolates. So this person is overindulging there because that makes me feel good for a very short period. And then I need to, so that's also overindulging. So sometimes we look for the most common things, and we don't go sit down and pay attention to the person in front of us to understand what do you rely on? Where do you get your energy from? What makes you tick? Thanks.
Excellent. I think that was the last round of questions. We almost have 2 more minutes to the end of the Zoom session, but Prof, are you going to carry out the last poll before we summarize and conclude?
Yeah, let's give this a last poll before we end.
We'll just do some concluding. Thank you, Prof. The questions should be coming up. Not yet, Prof. Just wait for your cue. Okay. All right. So the poll has been submitted. So thank you very much for, it's been fantastic, to join us this morning. Also on behalf of the South African Society of Quality, we felt this is a very important community drive that we should all be involved in. Your last slogan about take care, you are worth living. And I think that's important, despite whether we have physical or mental issues in life. There are a lot of people out there that could help us. And it's about having a balance in life. And before we say goodbye to everyone, I just want to thank everyone for joining us on this Saturday morning. Thank you for your insightful. We'll be running quite a bit of these webinars as we go along. Prof, is there any concluding, our president of SASQ, is there any concluding remarks for you before we can conclude the webinar for this morning? Thank you, Prof.
Thank you very much, Dina. Thank you very much, colleagues, for our first ever breakfast session. Thank you very, very much for your presentation. It actually sits in very nice with mental health. But I think each one of us really have a health issue. I don't think there's anybody that's very perfect. And the hints you have provided, I think we are going to use and take cognizance of it. And also your services that you recommended and some of the free services you offer, I think our members will gladly take that with appreciation. But once again, thank you for a very lovely presentation and very meaningful presentation, and that will help each one of us here that have listened. Although you've given us probably an hour of your time, but we had 23 people online, so that's 23 hours of your work. So thank you very, very much. And colleagues, watch out for the next breakfast session. If you have a special topic that you want that we should engage in, please, you can go to our website, and there's a contact form there that you can fill in and give us a request, and we will try to organize that. So the next breakfast session is going to be in 2 weeks' time on a Saturday morning. Thank you very much. Thank you, Dina, for running the session. And also thank you all colleagues for attending. At the moment, we have 13 people who have responded, and it's all 100% here. And I think as we exit, please let's put our hands together or raise your hand as thanks to Iona. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Prof. Thank you, colleagues. let's all meditate and keep our mental power and positive thinking for the box tomorrow at 9 o'clock. Let's go box. We can defend this title. And colleagues, thanks for joining us. And we'll see you in 2 weeks' time at the next breakfast. And take care and be safe. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you so much, Dina. Thank you, Prof. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks,
Cheers.
bye-bye.
Bye-bye.